Hi, it's Catherine Farron here from Silver Sister Productions, and I just had a wee think about the last video I posted there regarding the White Ribbon campaign and it being the third day of the 16 days of activism. And I wanted just to explain a wee bit more about maybe my motivation for doing this in the first place. I have mentioned in other videos that I worked for 20 years with families, women and children in particular, who were suffering domestic or sexual violence, and also with women who were sexually exploited or were trafficked for domestic servitude. So I've had a lot of experience working with people who have been traumatized and people who have been abused really badly and taken advantage of by the people that they've fallen in love with, by their own families and by their own countries. But I really did want to sit and say to you that I'm doing this because I've seen how this kind of abuse can destroy the human spirit and destroy people. And I wanted just to give you a wee bit of background on why I ended up working for 20 odd years with this type of issue. So I grew up in North Belfast in the late 60s, just at the beginning of what we call the Troubles. And, it was a frightening time. But when I try to explain to people now what it was like, it sort of feels like it's normal. So how do you explain normal if someone from another country comes and asks you, well, what was it like for you? So it's a bit difficult to explain what our normal was. But having my own children and around my children, now to be adults, I can obviously see the difference in their experience of growing up and my experience of growing up. Both of them were post Good Friday Belfast Agreement, so they didn't experience obviously what I experienced in the late 60s, 70s, 80s and on. But not only was there the violence, I suppose, on the streets and on the television, and when you were going to school and your bus was being attacked, and when you were in school and the explosion that happened so many hundred yards down the road broke the windows as you sat in the classroom, or that there was small altars all around the streets where I lived to remember someone from the area that was killed. It was also on our TV screens and very much on the radio, because my mother and father would have had the radio on constantly. There was this hypervigilance around all of the time to know what exactly is going on. Was it safe to go out? Could you venture into the city centre? All of these things. We didn't have what we have now, instant sort of reporting on what's going on and people with videos on their phones and reporting back exactly what's happening. We were left with just headlines and what people seen or saw, or a lot of speculation and a lot of fear. And it was a really difficult time. I remember lots of times as well being told to get upstairs quickly and hide under the bunk beds in the bedroom, because we thought there was going to be an explosion in the next street, and we would have put blankets and pillows and everything up against the window, and we would have covered ourselves. And when I tell people that, I say it as if that's just what happened, but obviously it wasn't a really good experience. But the violence growing up was one thing, and for a lot of people, especially as children, we find that our home is our haven, our home is our safe space. So not only was the violence outside and coming through the radio and through the television and seeing it on our streets with people laying flowers where a young man might have been shot down dead by the army, or seeing the funerals coming up and down the street quite often. There was also going home and living with the domestic abuse. I was a witness many times, and I experienced many times that coercive control, power and control and dominance within my own family home. So escaping off a school bus without any harm, and then entering a home where the tension, you could taste it, and the feeling of fear in your normal day. I carry it with me. So I believe, with my own experience growing up with all of that violence, and in particular living through domestic violence as a child, I am passionate about supporting women and children who suffer domestic abuse, and also recognise that men can also suffer domestic violence. But my own experience with living it, and my own experience in working in it, I believe I have an awful lot of knowledge and skills to share with other people, and I think that's now what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with the 16 days of activism to eliminate violence against women and girls across the world. And for my part, living here in the north of Ireland, I'm going to do as much as I can to support that. So I just thought I would explain a wee bit of where my background is and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I hope then to talk to you again tomorrow for the 4th day of the White Ribbon campaign. And thank you very much for listening and tuning in. And again, if anything that I'm saying is helpful, please like, share and subscribe, and take care out there. Goodbye.